the Shannons Supercar Showdown?
Yes.
Yeah.
I copped some stick at work about that one. Not the, they finally cottoned onto it. Someone got on
We
YouTube.
do have the opportunity to watch that.
No.
No?
Yeah. I'm still cheesed off with that. Obviously it was a really cool opportunity to go and do it. That was years ago and I was old then. But probably if I had taken it a tad more seriously, could have won that thing. But the criteria wasn't for an old guy to win it. I think we were there more for the fluff and the feel good. And look where Todd obviously got it in the end there. And it was more, I think he was already under the radar of Tim Edwards as well. But, spent some good time with Bryony, who I now work with at Supercars on the TV, but then with Frosty and Will and Davey Reynolds, we had a great time. So there was a couple of behind the scenes things which was pretty funny one night, and there was a couple of policies there because we had some kids under 18, but I might have snuck out to a young Nathan Pretty's 40th and got in a bit of trouble. So that was one thing I got in trouble there, and I might have led some of the younger guys astray every night because, as I said before, I'm a big believer of relaxing and celebrating the day, and I might have led some of the young kids astray.
Yeah. What was it like actually being on a reality TV show? Because from memory, is that the only time like Supercars, or I wouldn't know because you might have a bit more knowledge than me than this, but has there been any other sort of shows like that, or was it the first of its kind?
I think here in Australia, 100%. I think it was probably at a higher production at the start because remember the Kellys and Kelly Racing had a big part of it, and then it sort of transitioned more to I think Bruin and the guys ran it post that one. So it was to be honest, it was a cool experience. Like I actually enjoyed it because it was a week off of work. I had a newborn at home, so as much as my wife hated me being away, I got some sleep, so it was fantastic. It wasn't glamorous though because we stayed out at Calder Park in the middle of winter, so it was like Antarctic out there, and it rained all week, and the wind blew us away some days, and every day we'd set up to do potentially obviously an exercise. We get flooded out, and we'd have to sort of ad hoc it, so it was pretty funny, but at the it was cool. Like you think about experiences in life. Every now and then I'll bring it up at home. I was in reality TV, and that's not really fake. Like the amount of shots and takes, and you see the effort that goes into putting in a show like that, and then the end result. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of like now that you're on board with Supercars as opposed to back then? Did you ever think of bringing something back to that in a way?
Like Drive to Survive have done?
Oh, well, could be like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look. I think the world's changed a lot since then as well. Like you think about just social media and how far forward that has come, and the way people consume their, in their spare time. You're watching Netflix and you're watching all the different streaming ones. I think there could be an opportunity to do it, but how you would, I suppose, do it from a Supercars perspective is you need support from a network or a production company. But there's definitely an opportunity. Yeah, never say never. I think everything goes in circles. So there'll be like a search for a superstar again at some stage, I reckon. Yeah.
There's obviously fans, as you've seen on the internet, a lot of motorsport fans, negative and positive.
Yep. God bless them. Yep.
They're passionate.
Yeah,
they're passionate.
Yeah, they're passionate. So obviously the Holden and the Ford things disappeared, and we'll go to your Ute days because that's why I originally brought you on here to talk a bit about yourself as well.
Yep.
But the Holden and Ford things disappeared, and now the Chevy thing's coming up. People are saying that Supercars has lost their way, or the Ute series is different. Do you feel that there's a bit of that change, or do you think that they're just trying to readjust in a way?
Look, obviously being a part of the journey from start to finish with Ford and Holden, and I still remember Holden, obviously the announcement, and that come to us as a bit of a shock, believe it or not. So we thought we had a little bit further or more time with them. I think where we sit right now, it's a perfect storm. I've got kids, and they didn't grow up with manufacturer because they had so many. Where myself and probably yourself too, we grew up with essentially was Ford, Holden, maybe a little bit of Nissan, and Toyota, and probably Mitsubishi too. We were making cars in Australia, so our kids haven't even experienced that. So I think where we're going is, and I say generation, I think we're prepping ourselves for Gen Z. The kids now look at the cars, they recognise them, where the old cars, the Mustang was a Mustang, but wasn't really a Mustang. Yeah. It sort of was a Mustang, and the Commodore. So I think even the last generation of supercar didn't really have that same manufacturer focus as where we were with I think Project Blueprint and the VEs, which were cool, and the Falcons that were cool too. It wasn't right. It wasn't a real Commodore, and it wasn't a real Mustang. So the fact we've gone to a real Camaro and we've gone to a real Mustang, I reckon we're on the right track, and the opportunity then to bring more manufacturers in. So, just sitting there and seeing what our numbers are indexing, we're going the right way with the car. Obviously, there was a big P word parity, but they're fixing that. But you can't make wholesale changes without upsetting everyone. So they're just making fundamental steps to get it to the right place. And I think the fact that Anton won in Townsville was a step in the right direction. It's only small things, but I know I probably digress there, but I think we're on the right track. 100%. You got cars that are cooler. Just visually, they look cooler. They've got the ability when they're racing together. I think the racing is a bit more aggressive. The setup window is smaller and they're harder to drive. So you're seeing more winners. So it's taken a little bit of that predictability away from it. The good teams will always rise. As always, the cream rise to the top. But the fact you've got Jack LeBrock up there winning, you've got obviously Brad Jones Racing with Andre back up there consistently up the front as well, and Erebus, the team to beat, I think that's a step in the right direction. So in short, I think we're on the right track. It's still going to take a bit of time to get used to, and the dream is more manufacturers, isn't it, with cool cars. It's not manufacturer racing anymore, it's motorsport entertainment. So as long as people turn the TV on or want to come to the track and they're entertained, then we're winning.
I would like, because I'm a huge NASCAR fan, as I've posted on social media a lot, like in obviously SVG just went over there and won, but as you said, more manufacturers. Could you see like a Toyota Supra joining the series? Because TRD does, the Bateses and all that work with the 86 series. Do you reckon that they could influence another brand into the series, as you said later? Because what we have now is basically, more room to add more manufacturers, really.
Yep. I'm very confident that in the future, yes, the cars and the category set up now that it's almost a marketing exercise rather than a manufacturing exercise. So it's a badge. So, before, if you look at history with the Merc and Volvo, it was quite expensive, and even Nissan to get in, where now it's relatively cheaper to have obviously a different manufacturer come in. So it's perfectly set up for it, and there are manufacturers that would be definitely looking at it. So, yes, I think having a Supra would be ace. I reckon that'd be pretty cool. Even having an M3 BMW or dare say a Kia Stinger or something cool like that. Yeah, absolutely. I went over to the US and there were Kias racing in their touring car series, and I thought they were cool.
Yeah. Where'd you go over there?
This was a number of years ago. I went over. Previous role working for the Motorsport Board or SA government, we went over there on a fact-finding mission or a junket, depending on what you call it. And I actually went over there and we unearthed the stadium super truck. So that was one reason why we went over. I remember sitting there with my old boss saying, check out these. And he's like, wow. I said, I'm going to catch up with the guys over there and we're going to bring them to Australia. He's like, nah. And then, I reckon after 2 days up there and we spoke to Robbie, we got them back and we made it work. So that was, something pretty cool in life to bring a category like that to Australia when we were told it won't work, and it was highly successful at the time. But having a look at what they do in the US, that they race anything. So you look at Camry in NASCAR, and for them, yes, it's not a V8. They don't produce a V8, but I've heard stories that it's probably been one of their most successful marketing campaigns to build brand loyalty in very much a patriotic, Detroit country, that they've built a brand presence and a sales footprint through NASCAR, and they don't even sell a V8 Camry. So it works.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yep.
And with NASCAR, obviously you got Shane Van Gisbergen and Brody Kostecki going over for the IndyCar.
Yep.
Not the IndyCar. IndyCar is racing.
IndyCar's there the same weekend.
So Scott's racing that same weekend. Yep. Is it actually good for us Aussies to have that influence? Because I think, Brooke, you said that Chase Elliott
was saying this week that he wants to see like supercars all come over. He's like, open the doors, let them over. He said his reason was, he said it makes us better drivers. And after seeing like what Shane did, he didn't know Shane was coming back, then heard about Brody and said, oh, open the doors. And I was saying to Dan, I can see people also like Cam Waters going over in there and doing it. You know, different people who've already done also not just the supercars, but he's been in Speedway. You know, they've got sort of that different diverse background in that. Do you think that we're going to start to lose a lot of talent there? But do we have the talent to back it up? And I say this because there's so many roadblocks here at the moment with the super licenses. So the question is our own system blocking our talent from coming through? Because we just lost Nathan Hearn to the States, who is an amazing driver. They wouldn't let him in. So he's now working his way to NASCAR from the States angle rather than from Australia because it just wasn't going to work.
Yeah, it's I think we'll lose more drivers, 100%. You know, even if it's not full time, you're going to see more drivers get over there because number one, there's more money. So like anything, you're a professional athlete, you go where the money is and the opportunity. But it puts us on the map worldwide in terms of world-class drivers. I think everyone knew that our category was pretty damn good, but the fact that our guys can go over there and adapt, I mean, obviously, Perfect Storm, it's a first street track. It's, you know, a first time he was in, but in a track that no one had a massive advantage. I think Las Vegas, it's not Las Vegas, it's Indy, sorry.
Yeah.
Always say that. But
as you said, there's so many tracks over there.
Yeah, but the Indy road course, they've already got data from there, so I don't think it's going to be as easy. But, you know, the hill toe method is something that is huge for, you know, if you think about, and I talked to a lot of the Trans Am guys, same thing is, you know, they're designed to drive with 2 feet. So your left foot brake, your right foot accelerate. But that does, on time with the dog box or their down change, is activating the rear tyre. So the fact that the hill toe method works so well on preserving that tyre and making the car more drivable on a road course is why we've got that advantage. So I think it won't take long for the NASCAR guys to pick up on what we're doing and catch up pretty quickly. I'd like to see some of the NASCAR guys come here.
Yeah.
So, and maybe we have these weekends where we have wildcard cars that we do international swaps.
But the question is, do they need a super license, everyone's saying?
Yeah.
Oh.
I know that was brought up by a lot of people. I know Peter Adderton's been very vocal and a lot of others.
Yeah, one of our passionate fans.
Yeah, I know, right? Buddies with Ryan. The question is, though, would that be an issue? Because if they're not allowing the Aussie drivers to do it, why would you just allow an international in?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, unless there's status points for international races, who knows? But it's an interesting one. Obviously, it's a Motorsport Australia thing and what they do. I don't know. I don't totally get the super license thing, to be honest. I think the days of the privateer's gone, obviously, but I still think you need to give everyone the opportunity. But pathway is pathway, so it's got to be some sort of standard or quality, because you imagine if you got someone who didn't have the super license status get in and cause a catastrophe and take out people's championships. You don't want that. So it's got to be some sort of standard, but maybe the criteria at the moment is a tad too tough.
Do you get super license points for racing in super utes, like Aaron Borg, for example?
I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Then the question is there a pathway from super utes to supercars, or do you just do it to race separately? And if you want to go to supercars, you got to go to 2 or 3.
Yeah, because when you were racing at the start, you watched the stuff on YouTube, but you wanted to go to supercars, and the easiest way to do that was back then the old school utes, which is awesome.
Yeah,
you know, which is what super utes is trying to replicate. That was pretty much like a straight way to go to supercars back then.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you'd race the tracks, you'd hopefully get partners on board and look after them. I don't know. I think obviously they've designed it so that you need to funnel through Super 2 or Super 3 and Super 2. I don't know. I think it probably needs to be loosened up, but it's a controversial thing, isn't it? I'm glad I'm not trying to do that anymore, to be honest. I'm glad I'm at the other end of the stick.